Hiya Blues, Alex here outside the Etihad. This is BlueMoonRisingTV. I'm joined by Stephen today. Now Pep Guardiola is on his way to Manchester City and Pep loves developing players. When he was at Barcelona he gave debuts to 15 different players over 4 years and has pretty much continued on the same track at Bayern Munich. So we're talking about the top 11 players that Pep has developed over his career. Now that's not necessarily 16-year-olds through to the first team, it's players he's taken to the next level. So the only goalkeeper in this level we're going to talk about is Manuel Neuer. Now, a player that was around and certainly was very well thought of, but seems to, in the last 3 years at Bayern Munich, at Bayern Munich has gone from awesome to just awesomely incredible.
To Superman. Yeah, no, I think we'd all agree that Neuer was a great keeper beforehand, but it's the development of his game. That's the thing that stands out, and that's the thing that makes Pep different to most managers. He looks to improve the players. He thinks outside the box, doesn't he? When most people would see a goalkeeper and think he's world class, he's done. Pep sees some way they can improve further. And I think it's fair to say we've seen that this sweeper keeper thing being brought into action over the past 3 years, and it's very much coincided with Neuer, hasn't it?
The sweeper keepers were rare, but now at every Sunday League team you see goalkeepers wandering up to the halfway line. Neuer is sort of taking it to the game, and how much of an influence Pep is on that, we can't actually call into question, but it looks like, you can't deny that the last 3 seasons, Neuer has been the best goalkeeper in the world.
Yeah, I think it's totally fair to say that he's had an impact for him because that's how he wants his keepers to play football. We've all seen the rumours about Hart apparently not being good enough for that style of football. And do you think it's any coincidence then that someone like Neuer is, and we're linked to someone like Ter Stegen because he wants keepers to be like that? And I think it's fair to say that Neuer has improved under Pep and he's developed his game further during his 3 years there.
Okay, so let's move on to the defence. So we're going to go for 3 at the back just to fit in 4 of Pep's amazing midfielders.
Just to be like Pep, really.
Just to play like
Pep.
It's
too pretentious.
And I think one of the players that perhaps epitomises Pep Guardiola so well and contributed to him earning that reputation was Gerard Piqué, a man who didn't quite cut the mustard at Manchester United, was sold to Barcelona for just 5 million. I say just, which is still a lot of money, but for a defender and a Barcelona player was quite low. 5 million euros, and is now still to this day one of the best centre-backs in world football. Gerard Piqué, I mean,
he's the typical Pep defender, really, isn't he? He's unbelievably confident in the ball, incredibly elegant. He's all about his brain as opposed to his brute force. He reads the game impeccably, and he definitely 100% became the player that he is under Pep's leadership. He was, fair to say, he had a mixed time at United. He was only a young kid, but he was looking like one of those players that would just kind of fizzle into nothing. Barca scooped him up out of nowhere. Pep did, and he developed him into one of the most finest young footballers, young defenders of his generation. So.
And anyone who's going out with Shakira must be doing something right. So
that's Pep's influence as well.
Pep's influence.
Pep may set him up, actually.
Oh, right, I'm sure he was, yeah. So let's talk about the rest of it. So Jerome Boateng, a man that we know all about at Manchester City, who was, again, someone who would obviously signed for Bayern Munich, so was doing something right, but is now someone that everybody else, not just Manchester City fans, everyone in England seems to know about Jerome Boateng and how good he is.
Yeah, well, the thing about Boateng, you have to look what he's become, not what he was, in terms of he always had, apparently, we didn't see it at City, but he always had the raw defensive tools. But the thing he does now, and he very much typifies the modern Bayern, he's actually the architect of quite a few attacking forays forward. You see it, Bayern these days, they do a lot of the kind of possession-based football, but they're actually quite, they're not afraid to just kind of go direct and long. And he's become this kind of idea of this footballing defensive quarterback thing, and he's developing into the kind of player, and he's developed into the kind of player who can just ping 70-yard passes over to Lewandowski, who's through and goal and score goals, and that's a big part of what he's brought to his game as well as a defender. And I think it's fair to say that he's become possibly in the top 3 or 4 centre-backs in the world, and that's once again under Pep's tutelage.
I love that idea of the footballing quarterback. That's really nice comparison, because I think at City as well, he was the sort of limited full-back role, and his defensive duties were appropriate, but didn't look outstanding, and certainly not the player that he is today. So I think Jerome Boateng is getting into the side. Now we're going to throw, am I right, Javier Mascherano into the team. Javier Mascherano, a player that was undoubtedly quality at Liverpool, but was definitely a midfielder, a sort of all-singing, all-dancing central midfielder.
Great mental image, Adam.
Javier Mascherano,
flamboyant Mascherano,
banging out in the West End. But he was someone who sort of did every little bit of this, and then Pep just gradually brought him back, and he's now almost an out-and-out centre-back. And Javier Mascherano.
See how much they love Mascherano. That was, I presume, positive. Probably not, but we'll pass on that. But yeah, the best thing about what he's done with Mascherano is that's kind of adding a further kind of strings to his bow, so to speak. He's added another side to his game that no one really saw coming. He was like not the tallest guy in the world, about 5'10", maybe 5'9". But he had a great reading of the game, and Pep obviously saw that in the Spanish league he could do a job as a defender, because you don't have to be a 6'4" brute in the league over there. So he knew that he had the intelligence to read the game and really adapt to the defensive style in Spain.
And is this not classic Pep? Because Mascherano went to replace Puyol. Now you think about, of all the great centre backs in the world, Pep almost built his own replacement for Puyol.
Yeah.
Rather than waiting for the right player to come along, took a midfielder, saw the potential in him, saw his attributes, and realised that he could mould him into
Do you know
someone.
when you were on Football Manager and you used to try and retrain players into different positions, and it took forever and never happened? Pep was like, nah, he's just going to happen inside 4 months and it's done. And that's what he did to him.
It's sensational vision from a manager. It's unbelievable. So let's move into midfield. Now there's one name that I think everyone, particularly in Germany and people in England, are starting to take notice of, is Joshua Kimmich. Now we were talking earlier, there's that sort of infamous video where they've just beaten Dortmund and Bayern Munich look like they're almost certainly going to win the league. Everyone celebrating, the fireworks going off, all the players kissing and hugging. Kimmich has been man of the match, and Guardiola, for want of a better phrase, gives him a bollocking.
But it was like a kind of a parental bollocking, wasn't it? It was I'm bollocking you because I love you. And he was saying he'd done really well, but he was trying to get into his head to motivate him really more and now any potential flaws in his game. It was a real kind of it was a hand on the shoulder at the same time a dressing down, but it was designed to get a reaction out of him, and I think that was the best part of the whole thing for me. It was obviously a positive thing, even though it was perceived as a negative.
And it's almost, as a Manchester City fan, I'm delighted, but I think as a football fan, it's almost a shame that Pep hasn't quite got to finish the job with Kimmich, because you feel that there's work to be done. And I know there's one or two bookies that are asking, will Kimmich be on his way to Manchester, because their friendship is almost like kind of parents, if you like.
Yeah.
And it just seems that Kimmich is someone that Guardiola is a work in progress, and it's a really exciting German midfielder. He's playing for the German national team at the Euros. He's playing at right back, bizarrely, but he can play at centre back. He can play across the defence, and he can play midfield, and even once or twice has bagged for Bayern Munich.
That's great Pep, isn't it? Giving his players the ability to play in several positions. That's one that's come to define him. And that's why, in my opinion, I want to bring in Alaba into this midfield, because even though Alaba was a world-class left-back, and he was...
And still is.
Alaba, yeah, exactly. But Alaba has said himself that Pep, for him, reinvented football, which is a hell of a quote for a player that good. And Alaba, you see now, you've seen him for Austria during the Euros, he plays everywhere. He plays anywhere in midfield. He can play even as a high advanced attacking winger. He can play anywhere in defence. He's become this incredible utility player, this kind of John O'Shea gone 10 times more powerful and brilliant. Yeah, that's a weird comparison. Not one I thought I'd ever make, but it's valid. He's
Sorry. I think I missed that. Did you just compare David Alaba to John O'Shea?
Yeah, but if he was really good, like, okay, here's one. Sunji Hai, if he was incredible. But I'll take that. But yeah, I think he's become this complete player, where he was a complete left back and now he's a complete player. Some will probably disagree with this, but I think
I think some people will disagree that David Alaba is a Sunji Hai. I was thinking more sort of like a really souped up James Milner with a little bit more pace. But
yeah, I guess that's fair too.
Well, can you say it's like John O'Shea? Then when I say Milner, you're like, yeah.
Because John O'Shea was a pure utility player, played anywhere in defensive midfield. But
true.
Yeah,
right.
but not obviously vastly better. Another level. So let's Alaba. I think everyone can agree that went from very good to great under Pep. So let's complete this midfield then. Another man that everyone I think is another sort of favourite of Guardiola's, and he signed him at Barcelona. So brought him through at Barcelona and took him to Bayern Munich, and was linked to City at the start of the window. Thiago is a world-beating midfielder, dominating the Bundesliga. Loves to spray a pass out long, disciplined enough to play it short, can beat a man. We're going to put him on the right side of this three, but. Man, what a player. Oh, there's four even, what a player. Yeah, just wonderful. He's very much Pep's little kind of toy, really. He brings him everywhere he goes, and that's obviously why we've been linked to him so much. And I wouldn't be surprised if one day Thiago did rock up at City. Won't be this year, but maybe in a year or two from now. But yeah, he's been brilliant, and he's been a massive part of what's made him one of the best attacking midfielders in the world, because he's developed him, and he's kind of tutored him from a very young age into what he is. And it's undeniable that he's one of his success stories as a manager.
All right, now, of course, we've got to remember that when Guardiola took over at Barcelona, he was not one for small decisions. He got rid of Ronaldinho, he got rid of Lilian Thuram, he got rid of so many senior figures.
Told people he was going to sell Eto'o, and it did it the year after.
And it's he's not had to make changes. And one of the players that in his second season was almost axed was Yaya Touré. And Yaya was replaced by this young, skinny little lad called Sergio Busquets. And whatever happened to him, in the Spain squad, won the Champions League with Barcelona, it's got to be one of the...
To use a hipster term, the best medio centro in the world. I hate myself for saying that, but I just did. But yeah, no, I think you can't. What more can you say about Busquets? He had the foresight to give him his debut. He saw how much of a genius he could be, and he's incredible footballer. And it goes without saying that if it wasn't for Pep giving him the debut, who knows where he'd be today? But so.
Okay, so Sergio Busquets gets the team. Let's move into that front three.
Yeah,
now,
there's another one, isn't there, as well, who gave his debut that year too, and that's
the little man, Pedro. I think the other one. Pedro, of course, his kind of career sort of fizzled this year a little bit.
Yeah.
He's at a year, but when he was at Barcelona, he was smashing him in. And had it not been for Luis Suarez, who undoubtedly is a brilliant player that's going to keep anybody out the side.
Neymar as well. Yeah, not bad players.
You know, I think Pedro can be forgiven for that, but he's still, you know, on his day a top player.
Well, he made him into a World Cup winner, a massive part of Spain's squad. He made him into a European Championship winner. He won Champions Leagues with him. He scored plenty of goals for Barcelona. He was an incredibly skillful, very direct, very intelligent winger. Once again, he gave him his debut as well. So it's down to Pep, that one.
All right, so we're going to put Pedro in. Now, here's one that, again, is still in the development project. I only spent one season with Guardiola, and a lad who's played for some massive clubs, PSG, Juventus, and Bayern Munich. Not bad for a lad who's, I think, 22.
But that's the thing that's interesting, is that he still got him on loan from Juve. How often do you see a big club like Bayern take someone on loan, a young lad on loan, pluck him out of obscurity? This is brilliant. It's brilliant, and it should be admired. Instead of spending 40 million on a winger or whatever, he got a lad on loan from Juve, and he got him into the French squad and made him one of the most exciting attacking young forwards in world football. There's this great quote from Coman, actually, where
this is, of course, Kingsley Coman we're talking about.
Yeah,
I think.
Kingsley Coman. Yeah, he said. But the most exciting thing, the most interesting thing is that as a winger, he puts no pressure on him. He says, your job is to dribble. He said, I don't need to teach you how to do that. You can already do it. So you need to get one-on-one as soon as you can and just run at him. And if you don't get past him the first or second or third time, you'll do it the next. Now, how valuable would that be for Sterling to hear that? A manager will encourage him to dribble, not encourage him to wait for the fullback. So he wants him to express himself. And Coman's developed into this incredibly talented young forward. And it's because of him. My opinion.
I mean, he's one of the ones as well that everyone's sort of looking at now at the Euros. And in that France squad where one or two of the big names, you know, the Antoine Griezmann and so on, haven't yet to perform, Coman seems to have hit the ground running in the Euros. Now we're recording this on a Thursday, which means that France might play before the time, and Coman will get himself sent off to it. But he looks a really good young player, and it is someone that Guardiola could definitely, won't be in 10 years' time, he won't call Coman a Guardiola player. But is someone that Guardiola has given that chance and has developed a little bit and made into someone who is a fixture in a Bayern Munich squad at such a young age. And finally, I think Lionel Messi played over 100 times for Barcelona before Guardiola became first-team manager. However, you've got to remember that Guardiola was at Barcelona B, was looking after the youth teams and stuff, and will be involved in his development. But we're not saying that Guardiola is responsible for Messi, but we are saying that Guardiola helped reinvent Messi. Well, Guardiola almost invented the false nine for Lionel Messi. And how often do we hear about the false nine now? It's at a position. And it's someone, again, we're not going to credit Lionel Messi to Guardiola. That would be ridiculous. But to say that Guardiola definitely had an influence on turning Messi into the player that he was today.
Yeah, there's a great quote from Pep about the moment when he realised that Messi should not be this right winger anymore. Messi would have been world class either way. He was too good. He would have been one of the greatest players ever. But at this point, he wasn't scoring a goal a game. And then he said he apparently was sat there studying videos like a half 10 at night in his office, as he always was doing. And he had a eureka moment. He rang up young Lionel Messi, told him to come to his office at that time of night, and told him he's going to be a false nine. He found a bit of space between the midfielders and defence for Real Madrid, and he wanted him to really adapt to this space and make it his own. And that was the moment where we saw this Messi develop into what he is now, i.e. not only the best finisher in the world, but also the best attacking midfielder, the best creator, a genius, one we'll never see again in our lifetime. And it was his foresight to do that, to really make the most of his abilities, his attributes, to make him something more than he was already. But so he's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
You say we'll never see another Messi again. You wait till Pep gets his hand on Brahim Diaz.
That's my line.
All right, so that was our 11 best Pep Guardiola Pep Proteges. I'm going to say it. I've said it out loud. The best 11 players that Pep has developed at least at some point.
Yeah.
Let us know if you disagree with us.
People will.
There's loads of players that we had to miss out, and we kind of had a little bit almost argued about it before the video, trying to finalise it into 11 players. Maybe you go 4-3-3. Maybe you change the formation around. Let us know what you think, and which players are you most excited about Pep getting his hands on. I can't wait for him to meet Patrick Roberts. That day next season is going to be great. I can't wait for him to get his hands on players like Neuer at centre-half as well. But let us know who you're most excited about in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like. And if you're new to BlueMoonRisingTV, make sure you subscribe. See you next time, Blues.